In this video, we are going to demonstrate the installation and configuration of the Suto iTech Pitot Tube Flow Meter S430. This flow meter is perfectly suitable to measure air delivery of compressors, thus can be installed in wet airflows. It's inserted into the compressed air pipe under pressure through a 3/4 inch ball valve. Please ensure to have enough straight pipe upstream of the sensor. Details can be found in the instruction manual. Installation. Though in most cases the sensor is installed in horizontal pipes, if you have a vertical pipe installation, you need to consider two important issues. The flow must go from down to up. The sensor will not work if the flow is the other way round. The sensor cannot be installed horizontally into the pipe. It requires at least an angle of 10 to 20 degrees. First, we mount the sensor onto the ball valve. Make sure that the O-ring is in proper position. Use a spanner to tighten up the nut. Then we open up the ball valve, but leave the sensor outside the pipe at this moment. Wiring and power supply. Next is to make the electrical connection. You connect the 24-volt DC power supply and, depending on whether you have an analog Modbus or M-bus type, you connect the signal lines according to the pinning table. If you have ordered the sensors with the sensor cables, you can use the color codes to connect the signals to the right terminals at the monitoring system, which can be a PLC or any remote terminal unit. If you have a sensor with the optional integrated display, the display will light up as soon as the power is on. Configuration through the mobile app. A big advantage of the Suto flow sensors is they all have a Bluetooth interface and a service app for Android phones. This is a very convenient way to make the necessary settings of the sensor before it can go to operation. The app is called S4CFS and can be downloaded for free from the Google Play Store or the Suto iTech website. We will now first demonstrate how to use the app. After startup, it will search for Suto flow sensors nearby and list them on the screen. Behind each sensor is found a symbol in green or red. Red means you are not allowed to change settings, but you can watch the settings. To change settings, you must scan the QR code on the calibration certificate that came with the sensor. If you are a registered Suto iTech service engineer, you do not need to scan those QR codes. You have full access. Now select the sensor that matches with the serial number shown. After selecting the sensor, we will see the online screen with the current measurement readings. On the lower side of the screen, there is a button for settings, which we are going to use to make all required settings. Since we have connected to the sensor, we can now perform the settings. The first thing we must do is a so-called zero flow calibration. This is an absolute required step on every S430 flow meter because the sensors must be calibrated before use. Please check that the ball valve is open, but the sensor still stays within the ball valve and is not inserted into the pipe. On the app, we select Zero Flow Calibration and follow the steps. After this is done, we must enter the pipe inner diameter into the sensor. The pipe inner diameter is required in order to perform the correct flow calculation. If you don't know it, measure it with an ultrasonic wall thickness meter and deduct 2 times the wall thickness from the outer diameter of the pipe. It's essential to be very accurate as it will influence the flow calculation significantly. Flow type calculation allows to calculate the following flow types. If FAD is selected, you must enter the intake conditions in a separate dialog so that the flow meter can calculate the free air delivery. If you enter the same intake conditions as specified by the compressor maker, you can compare the FAD measured with the FAD specified. Dry airflow will calculate the usable flow rate after the dryer by removing the water component in the flow. Flow is the standard flow measured, which is the default setting that is usually recommended to be used. The following settings are important to be checked and, if required, modified. Gas flows are always calculated to standard or norm conditions, which are close to ambient conditions. The reference conditions are not related to the pipe pressure or the temperature. Do not enter your pipe pressure or temperature under reference settings. This will lead to wrong measurements. Flow, pressure, and temperature units can be set. If you have a version with the analog output, you can enter the scaling for the analog output. By default, the sensor is scaled from 0 to max flow. There are a couple of more settings which are not relevant at this moment. Please check the instruction manual for more details. Finalizing installation. Now everything is ready to finalize the installation of the sensor. The next step is to insert the sensor into the center of the pipe. To insert it into the correct position, we will use the scale on the sensor shaft. How do we get the insertion depth? Here's how we do it. It's recommended to first measure the outer pipe diameter and the length between the top of the pipe and the end of the ball valve. We then do a simple calculation by adding to the length measured half of the outer diameter. The result is the insertion depth. We now press the sensor into the pipe until we see the calculated insertion depth just above the locking nut. When we reach the correct position, we tighten up the locking nut slightly, but not too much. Just enough to keep the position, because there's another step missing. We must align the sensor to the pipe. Make sure the flow direction matches up with the arrows at the sensor. When all is properly aligned, we tighten up the locking nut and the installation is finished. That's it. The installation and configuration is done and we're ready to measure. Thank you for watching this video.